Hello and welcome to the Analyst. Today is 25th of April and through this discussion, you will learn good details about the following current affair articles. In the first one, we will do the policy analysis of National Clean Air Program. In the second one, we will look into the concerns of our seafarers and why is it a concern for India specifically. Then, we will look into a controversial legislation recently passed by the UK Parliament. This is about the Rwanda's law and this is to deal with their migrant issues. Next is we'll be taking up a case study on the Bundelkhand region, which is currently plagued up by two problems. One is the scarcity of water on one hand and the scarcity of diamond on the other. In this last one, we will read about investment vehicles, the InvITs and the REITs, because recently they have garnered a lot of investment since the last 4 years. And finally, winding it up for you with Prelims Snippets, extremely important for the upcoming prelims examination. So, stay tuned. In our first topic, we will make an assessment of the National Clean Air Program. What is the context? Context is the coverage of this program and its analysis in the text and context section of the Hindu newspaper. This is again very important because it was asked in UPSC Mains Examination 2021. It deals with GS3 part of the syllabus where we have to read everything about environment, pollution and conservation and associated concerns. Okay, talking about the National Clean Air Program, to introduce it to you, this is the India's first ever national, in fact, a very comprehensive national framework for air quality management. What was the need of such a national level framework for air quality management? Well, that was the rising levels of air pollution. I mean, just look into this graph. Look into the graph which reveals that 9 out of the world's 10 most polluted cities. This graph is about 2020, but still, this data keeps relevance in current time as well. So anyway, 9 out of the world's 10 most polluted cities are from our India. In fact, if you look into the levels of pollution, you will see them rightfully breaching more than 80 micrograms per cubic meter. Do you know what is the permissible limit in India? It is 40 micrograms per cubic meter. And surprisingly, do you know what are the healthy levels which are permissible for WHO? So as per WHO, this is even less. It's somewhere about 5 micrograms per meter cube. Just imagine the level of breach that Indian cities are performing. So of course, because we have got such a high level of pollution through the entire length and breadth of India, except for some of the pockets, which are the natural pockets, the eco-sensitive zones, which are the pristine pockets. Other than that, we have got pollution almost everywhere. So naturally, air pollution therefore has become a massive serial killer. It has also been revealed in a report that about 7 million people globally die because of some of the respiratory diseases or some of the other diseases which are directly and indirectly related to the air pollution. So just imagine the amount of susceptibility we as Indians have living in this country. So anyway, talking about the health implications that it has, it is said that Delhi alone causes that much level of exposure to the lungs, which is equivalent to consuming 20 to 25 cigarettes in a year. That is the amount of exposure a person gets. And this is not just the story of Delhi, but about many other cities of India. So CPCB, the Central Pollution Control Board, a statutory organization which has been formed by the Water Act of 1974, has revealed that there are about 132 non-attainment cities in the country. Non-attainment, which means they have not attained the targets that have been enlightened by the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So they are non-compliant with such air quality standards, therefore they are referred to as non-attainment cities. Some of them are these. And in order to deal with them, in order to particularly target them, we have created a comprehensive national framework. This national framework was launched by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in the year 2019. And it was the first program ever related to air pollution where it gave certain reduction targets which were to be attained in a time-bound manner, which means that in 5 years, that is by 2024, two pollutants, PM 2.5 and PM10 were to be reduced to up to 20 to 30% in the next 5 years, that is by 2024. Currently, we are standing in 2024. Do you see any such target having been achieved? No. So therefore, this deadline was again extended to 2026 and the targets were also made more ambitious, that is to get the reduction up to 40% 40% from which baseline? So the baseline or the base year for this action plan is 2017. So as compared to 2017 pollution levels, we have to achieve a reduction of PM 2.5 and PM 10 to about 40% by the year 2060. That is a broad framework, that is a broad timeline of the National Clean Air Program. Now, what are the features? First of all, it gives time-bound targets which are more easier to be accounted, to be measured, to be monitored and to be achieved. Then, it gives city-specific action plans, clean air action plans which are particular to each city, because you have to understand each city has got their own sources of air pollutant. Some is coming from stubble, some are coming from the air conditioners, some are coming from, let's say, big industry, some are coming from other sources, let's say dust only, but each have their own specific issues. So therefore we have made city specific action plans. This is not a district level, this is not in fact a state level plan, this is, we are going more decentralized over here, we are moving with city specific action plan. Then to monitor all of it, we have created committees at different level. We have got steering committee at national level, then at state level, we have got monitoring committee, and we also have got implementational committees. So a robust authority mechanism is also there. Next is setting up of certification agencies which are going to provide certification. To whom? To the monitoring agencies who will be performing monitoring at the cities level. How many cities are designated? Are all the cities designated? No, that's not even needed. Only 132 non-attainment cities have been designated for this action plan. The next feature is having a technology assessment cell. This technology assessment cell will be ensuring that any emerging or upcoming technology which can probably or which can potentially help us to abate the levels of air pollution, to control them and to take proactive measures against them, we will be adopting them at the city level. So these are some of the features, along with one more thing, which is the emission inventory. So emission inventory studies needs to be performed in each and every city under this program. Under this emission inventory studies, one will understand what are the exact local point sources of pollution for that particular city, and then we'll be making due plan according to it. Okay. Now, if we quickly talk about some other provisions, this is a very important infographic. So it is a new institutional framework which has been finalized. The Apex committee, because this was established by Ministry of Environment, Apex committee is headed by the Environment Minister. Steering committee is by the Secretary to the Ministry of Environment. Then CPCB will be the steering body. National project, at the national level, the implementation agency will be a unit, an implementational unit under the CPCB, and at the state level, there will be monitoring units having some scientific personnels. About 100 plus cities will be targeted, and then about 50 stations in rural areas will be established for monitoring the air quality. These are some of the provisions. You can have a more detailed understanding of it with the help of the handout that is given to you. Now, what are the challenges in implementation? Because we know that by 2024, we have not achieved the target. Why have we not achieved the target? Because we have fallen short. There were certain lacunas and we are going to assess them. First of all, inconsistent implementation. So all of the cities, 132, were told that you have to create your city-specific clean air action plan. Have they done that? No. In fact, less than 40% of the cities have created them. In fact, even if they have submitted it, they have not implemented it on the ground level. So implementation is the evil over here. Second is the inadequate NCAP fund usage. It has already been seen that because at the state level, multiple NCAP funds were allotted on the basis of cities, and only 60% has been used so far. If you see the gravity of the situation, Bengaluru has used only 1% and Visakhapatnam only 0%, which means it has not even utilized, it has not even touched the NCAP fund. If you are not utilizing the fund, how will you carry out the implementation? Next is the delays and the bureaucratic red tapeism. As you know, that a lot of programs, a lot of reports have to be approved, a lot of such action plans have to be approved. Who's the approving authority? It is the bureaucracy. So if the bureaucracy becomes lethargic, or if it follows red tapeism, it will become very, very difficult to implement these plans, these action plans on time. And that is the challenge. Challenge is with delays in approval from the competent authorities, lack of proper standard operating mechanisms, which penetrates a lot of subjectivity into assessing action plans because it varies from city to city. Then defined timelines, then doubt about the effectiveness of such measures. If you start doubting the process, you will never be able to take up the grit, the grilling that is required to reach the final result. And that is the issue over here. Many of the administrative agencies and many of the other personnel, in fact sometimes citizens as well, feel that these measures are not good enough, they will never lead us to clean airs, and therefore because they have doubts, they don't follow up the measures, they don't follow up the action plans. Next is neglect of other pollutants. At the policy level also we have seen that we are only targeting two pollutants, PM 2.5 and PM 10. Are they enough? No, they are primary pollutants, but we have got certain secondary pollutants as well. We have got nitrogen dioxide, we have got sulfur dioxide and so many other. That has not been covered. So this is not a very comprehensive plan. This is a policy loophole. Next is, it is a city specific plan. Now you tell me, does air know any boundary? No. So therefore, let's say a stubble which is burnt in Haryana would be causing pollution in Delhi. It of course causes, we know the reason. Then some industry which is maybe planted in some rural areas causing pollution to the urban. So it basically complicates the entire management of air pollution at urban levels, at the cities level. So therefore, what is the need of that? Just like how we used to have watershed management for river and water conservation, similarly we should have an airshed management where we are just not taking one particular city specifically, we are taking the entire airshed area. Now, what are the winning strategies? How can we go about this implementation, and how can we ensure that this challenging provision, yet a very important, a very necessary provision, is duly implemented in India? First of all is to understand the importance of decision making on the basis of reliable data sources. For data sources, we need to necessarily conduct the emission related analysis, which is also known as the AQ forecasting or the emission inventory forecast, right? How many cities have done that? Only 37% cities have taken up their emission inventory studies. The others have left behind. So first of all, we need to take a huge amount of data in order to process it and in order to analyze and then take city specific decisions. Next is to have better AQ modeling. There are certain issues with the EI, that is emission inventory model itself. This has been highlighted in this editorial. Emission inventory is when the studies are made to understand or to get the insights of the local pollutants. It's only talking about the local pollutant sources, not about the distant sources. But as I've already told you, air knows no boundaries. So there can be distant sources as well. To understand that, we need to have better models. For example, AQ forecasting models. So we need to have better and more enhanced, more precise AQ forecasting models. Having models is not just enough. We need to put them in implementation as well. That will be done with the help of setting infrastructure, monitoring infrastructure. So in how many cities have you seen them? Of course, it's there in Delhi. Of course, it's there in Mumbai. It's there in Pune. It's there in Ahmedabad also. But in the other cities, the infrastructure is not there. So that is also lacking. All of this is happening because of bureaucratic delays, because of lack in decision making, because of misuse and abuse and underuse of the funds that are available. Okay, then the need of that is swift implementation. For swift implementation, there should be a standardized SOP as to how to approve a plan which is specific and which is uniform for all the cities at the same time. So swift implementation can be done by doing away with the bureaucratic lethargy and setting a robust technical action plan. Okay, next is having a comprehensive strategy. Just covering two pollutants is not good enough. So what is the need of that? To include more pollutants, to include not just and to focus not just on the local sources but also on the distant sources of pollution in that particular city. Is also to have more scientific approach, to have more data analytics capability, to have better human resources which are engaged into bringing and developing plans which can abate the air pollution and the air pollution menace in the country. We can also take some examples from the foreign countries. These can act as best practices. First one is Copenhagen, a city in Denmark, which has led to a cycling revolution, which basically has transitioned towards a more greener form of mobility, that is through cycling. So in this manner, it has abated a lot of, basically we are targeting the source. We are targeting the very origin of the air pollutants, and that can be done by reducing the amount of emissions. We can reduce the amount of emissions by transitioning to a more greener mobility, for example, electric vehicles, for example, cycles, which are good for health as well. So India can also implement that. The second and a very good example is from Colombia. So Bogota of Colombia has led green corridors in the entirety of its transport corridor. So let's say this is a transport area, this is a transport corridor, and in every transport corridor they have aligned with it some green corridors, some some greenery as well. Now this greenery is immediately absorbing all the emissions, and this is leading to lesser amount of emissions that are given back to the environment. So therefore, these best practices, if they are included in Indian domain, can also lead us to a better and to a quicker transition towards a greener India and a cleaner India. You can also meanwhile try to approach this question which has been asked in the UPSC examination 2021. In the next article, we will read about the seafarer security concerns which have been highlighted by India, and proactive measures have already been enlisted by India by submitting papers to the 111th session of International Maritime Organization. Do you know where is it headquartered? Kindly tell that in the comment section. And to its legal committee, it has been submitted in order to deal with the concerns of the seafarers. Now, a question might come to your mind that why India is so concerned about seafarers. That is because India's maritime economy contributes to about 1.8% to its total economy. And the total amount of commerce that India carries, about 95% of it is carried via seas. To carry these operations, to carry these economic activities, we just can't send a ship and a vessel alone. We have to employ certain seafarers as well. So, India wants safeguards for the seafarers which it aims to increase. Currently, out of the total global population of seafarers, India has got 9% of it, 9% of the total global population of seafarers. India aims to double this number up, and India aims to bring it to 20% of the total global population in about 10 to 20 years. That is our target. So basically, we understand that seafarers are very crucial for our Indian economy and also for our commercial interests and also for our maritime interests. So India has understood that securing the seafarers is extremely important because they are crucial for our Indian economy. They are crucial for our maritime security. And therefore, India is putting emphasis on providing security to the seafarers. The problem with seafarers is that it has been seen that they are not much interested in their jobs right now. In fact, they are moving towards other employment opportunity because of the rising risks to their life. What are causing these risks? What are the challenges? Let's have analysis. First one is their very safety concerns. So we've already read about the Red Sea militancy that is happening in the Red Sea. Then we have in the Strait of Hormuz. You must have heard about the Houthi rebels. They are attacking, they're causing Red Sea militancy. You see the blockages of the Suez Canal. You see it happening in the Gulf of Guinea. These are some of the hotspots where pirate activities takes place, where maritime piracy takes place, or the attacks on these seafarers takes place. And this has eventually led to a rise ever since there has been political instability in the Arabian Peninsula and also in the Russia-Ukraine war. So therefore, because of the recent attacks, for example, this MV Ruin, and there was also this one ship which was Leela Norfolk. They carried Indian seafarers and they were attacked. They were attacked by these militants, by the pirates. So there are of course natural safety concerns. Piracy is growing, especially in the coast of Somalia. In the coast of Somalia, you see a lot of pirate attacks. So there you see armed pirates boarding the ships. So all of these threats are growing. Second is the contractual issues with the seafarers. So what happens? This has especially been seen in the case of Iran. So Iran brings very lucrative offer for the Indian people, and they say that you get employed with us, and as a result we'll be paying you very high salaries and allowances. In lieu of that, they make them overwork. They even make them sign some or take some illegal contracts or illegal consignments. So there are contractual issues. There are issues related to their job security, their contractual security. So unlawful recruitment practices exploit them. For example, having false promises, getting them overworked, not providing them sufficient things, for example, food and other safety things. Then most of them are unaware of their rights or lack legal representation. So therefore, many a times they are misled. Many a times they are caught up in cases where they are particularly innocent. That is because of lack of awareness. So we also understand that India needs two things right now. India needs to bolster their safety, ensure the safety of our seafarers. India needs to ensure that there is contractual safety as well, contractual security as well. And then Many of them have been kidnapped as well. You must have seen that, in fact, a report of Indian Maritime Administration has revealed that about 40% increase has been seen. 40% increase has been seen on the numbers of seafarers from India getting kidnapped since 2000 in the Gulf of Guinea. So the amount of kidnapping, the amount of pirate attack, the amount of being stranded, being detained on the part of seafarers is also increasing. Naturally, this will demotivate them to take up the employment of seafarer, no matter how lucrative it is. Now, this also hinders India's goal of achieving 20% of the total global seafarer share in the world. Therefore, India is trying to raise up this concern in the international domain. India has submitted the papers to International Maritime Organization's Legal Committee for two things. Because we understand that what we need seafarers' security, we need their contractual security, and we need to provide them human rights. We need to provide them certain human rights so that they are not unnecessarily being held in foreign jails, in foreign waters, subjected to illegal detention. They should be aware of their legal rights. To ensure all of this, 3 papers have been submitted in this legal committee. India has already launched the Human Rights at Sea initiative with the National Human Rights Commission to address the human rights abuses that are faced by the seafarers. Next, some of the other things which India has done to ensure the maritime security is to provide anti-piracy patrols and surveillance in a very proactive fashion. Some of the measures that we take are coastal surveillance network that we have created along with the other Indian Ocean region countries. Then National Maritime Domain Awareness Project as well, which leads to information dissemination regarding the Indian ships to the Indian administration. Then we have also collaborated on multilateral front for cooperation and institutions. Piracy or anything related to high seas or high waters is basically having extra jurisdictional clashes. No one country can take the entire responsibility of it. So therefore, what we need international cooperation. So for that, India has taken up, first of all, it's a party of UN clause, laws of seas, Regional Maritime Security Initiative, under which International Fusion Center has been created. They basically take up the entire regional area, that is the Indian Ocean region, and all the countries collaborate for information dissemination and for collaborating on maritime safety and security. Then we have also created some policies. For example, the Sagar policy. Sagar policy has got the core elements of ensuring maritime security, and especially not only for India but also for the other littoral states of the Indian Ocean. Next is the very recently enacted Maritime Anti-Piracy Act. This basically empowers Indian government to take a very stringent action against the pirates. So this gives powers to the Coast Guards and the Indian Navy to take more brutal measures against the attacks of pirates. So these efforts, in conclusion, showcases the India's commitment towards securing the maritime environment. But at the same time, the need of the hour is to have more proactive engagement among all the stakeholders with an intent to ensure the human rights of our seafarer community. Now, can we talk about the next bill? This is very interesting yet very controversial. Some has also touted them as a policy of cruelty. This is basically a legislation which has been finally passed by the United Kingdom's Parliament for deporting the undocumented immigrants to an East African nation of Rwanda, and that is why this is named as UK's Rwanda Act or UK's Rwanda policy. This deals with GS2 part of the syllabus, where effects of policies and politics of other countries and their implications on India has to be read. So first of all, we will understand what is the need of this policy. See, the need of the policy was the immediate and the extreme surge in the number of migrants that were coming from the other countries towards the United Kingdoms and the other Western countries. But this is in particular to UK. So in the UK, it was observed that in 2022, the number of immigrants that came, especially from the small boats through some of the illegal routes, they amounted to 45,000, which jumped from 300 since the last 4 years. That is the gravity of the influx that they are facing, of course, because of multitude of reasons. First of all is the climate change. There is loss of land, loss of resources, land degradation. Then the second one is because there are conflicts, there are civil wars going on in many countries. Then the third one is the lack of opportunity, lack of employment, lack of basic necessities in their country, and therefore they are trying to come to a more lucrative country, seeing better dreams, having hopes and faiths of better opportunities and better standard of living. So for that, they are coming to UK. Surge in migrant is first reason. Second, this surge is happening specifically through illegal route, which is aiding the criminal economy of the UK, because many of these routes are the donkey routes. Donkey routes you must have seen in the Donkey movie of Shah Rukh Khan. This is basically an illegal route which the people opt for in order to get into another country. Of course, it has a huge risk on their lives. It's a very risky route. But in lieu of taking this route, they give thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds to the criminals who are arranging this entire settlement, this entire route. So this also somewhere aids and flourishes the criminal economy of UK. Third reason is, it would save countless lives from human trafficking. Many of them, in lieu of better opportunity, better life standards, are trafficked to some very, very distant land, far away from their homeland. So this also leads to a lot of human trafficking. Now, because such was the case that was going on in UK, so they were in loop with Rwanda in order to create a pact so that they can deport some of the illegal immigrants, especially those who are coming from the small boats or donkey routes, or some who have been coming through other cargoes, in fact some of the transports like trucks, etc., in very inhuman conditions. So basically they are deported to Rwanda. What are the features of the bill? People arriving in Britain as undocumented stowaways in trucks or boats would be flown very, very far away, of course, to next continent, that is to Rwanda. In that country, they will be assessed, not in UK. In Rwanda, they will be assessed. Upon assessment, they will be eventually resettled over there. Then the entire expenses about their rehabilitation, their resettlement in Rwanda will be raised by United Kingdoms, of course. So for that, millions of pounds for housing and integration has been put forward. This is a pilot scheme to be run for 5 years. And when we talk about integration would mean to provide socio-economic support, which means providing them certain skills so that they can raise up their opportunity of living and the standard of living in Rwanda. So basically, this is supporting the migrants by providing them access to training, healthcare and shelter so that they can resettle. Not in Europe, not in UK, but in Rwanda. Now let's look into the criticism. Criticism has came from the powerhouses of UK only. In fact, United Nations Refugee Agency has touted this as a kind of commodification of refugee, where they are being traded and processed in another country so that they doesn't become a liability for United Kingdom. In 2022, the European Court of Human Rights had already stopped the first plane from departing from UK to Rwanda. And this happened because court cited that Rwanda's human rights records have quite been abyssal. They are not very good. So we are not sure whether the people who are flown in there, they will be getting their due human rights or that they'll be exploited more. So these kind of evidences were there, so therefore they have already restricted the movement. This particular one is also touted as one of the ways to circumvent the Supreme Court ruling. How did they do this? So basically, the entire parliament declared Rwanda as a safe destination. Rwanda is a safe destination without providing proper assessments, without proper reports being out in public. And they have passed this bill, Safety of Rwanda Bill, where they have signed a treaty with Rwanda, giving them certain money so that they can create safe havens for the migrants over there. Of course, the political parties, some of the oppositions have also raised the issue that this is a very costly affair. Rehabilitation of this entire community of illegal migrants probably will lead to a lot of expenditure from the UK Treasury. This can lead to economic crisis on UK. So these are some of the criticisms related to this very controversial issue. What are your opinion about it? We'll be glad to know that. Now talking about the geographical aspect now, because this is very important from UPSC point of view. Rwanda is an East African country lying below the equator. Now this is a country which is majorly mountainous. It has got a lot of plateaus, a lot of hilly terrain and a lot of lakes. Okay. One such lake is Lake Q, which forms the natural boundary between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. So naturally, what are the bordering countries? It's Congo, it's Uganda, it's Tanzania and it's Burundi. Okay, there are 4 countries which are neighboring Rwanda. Rwanda has got capital in Kigali. Are you able to recall Kigali? It is a Kigali agreement for the removal of hydrofluorocarbons, not for the chlorofluorocarbons. Why hydrofluorocarbons? They are already not the ozone depleting substances, but they are very potential greenhouse gases. So Kigali Agreement was set up in Rwanda only. Alright, 80% of the total rivers flow towards the river Nile, and the other 20% flows towards river Congo. Congo drains to Atlantic and Nile drains to Mediterranean Sea. Again, question which has been asked in UPSC exam. Well, now we'll take up a case study on Bundelkhand region, because some challenges have been highlighted regarding to elusive diamonds and also elusive water resources in the parched Bundelkhand. This is dealing with economic geography. You can put a case study of Bundelkhand in your geography answers as well. Anyway, let's gain our awareness about Bundelkhand. So this is a region, this is basically a geographical and a cultural region which basically shares its region with two states. One is Madhya Pradesh, second is Uttar Pradesh, but most part of it lies in Madhya Pradesh. So as you can see, this much part is in Madhya Pradesh and this is in Uttar Pradesh. The Bundelkhand that we are talking about right now is about the Madhya Pradesh Bundelkhand. It contains of some districts like Tikamgarh, Sagar, Chhatarpur, Panna, Damoh, etc. I am telling you that it's very culturally rich because Bundelkhandi folk music is very famous in Madhya Pradesh. But at the same time, it's also very famous for Khajuraho temples in Chhatarpur. But tourism is not very strong over here. So most of their economy is led by either the agriculture or by the diamond, because they are also one of the most potent sources of diamond mines in the country. Okay. What are the challenges faced by Bundelkhand? So Bundelkhand used to be the region or the lands of the kings and of the Rajputs, and now you see that it has been deprived and depraved to the levels of poverty. There are multiple challenges. First of all is the kind of terrain. So terrain is very hilly and it has got sparse vegetation because of the climatic conditions. It gets even worse with the growing climate change. As a result, you will see that climate crisis has caused lessening of the rainfall, and from 2007, the Bundelkhand region is going through one of the worst droughts that has been seen in any parts of the country. So, drought is happening because of climate change, because of less monsoon. The area for cultivation is also very less, because you also know about Panna. Panna is a biosphere reserve. So Panna is a biosphere reserve, which means it has got huge amount of forested lands, which again cannot be cultivated. Now this is having huge amount of forest, the other part is having hilly terrain, which means a lot of agriculture prospect is not available here. That's the first thing. Now, because there is shortage of water because of low monsoon, therefore government is also thinking for having a Ken-Betwa linking project. What is the Ken-Betwa linking project? India's first river interlinking project. This is between two tributaries of Yamuna river. This is the Yamuna river, the Ken river, the Betwa river first of all. It flows through this boundary of Madhya Pradesh and UP, and this Ken river flows through the Panna Tiger Reserve. It flows through Panna district, somewhere from here. So they were to be joined through the Ken-Betwa linking project with the help of a Dodhan Dam, which is to be created again in Panna, which is again attracting a lot of controversy from the environmentalists, because this will cause the destruction of the forest. So anyway, we have talked about Panna, Chhatarpur. Do you also remember Panna is famous for one more thing, that is the diamonds. So the other crucial aspect of Bundelkhand's economy is their diamond. But the diamonds are also getting depleted now. So that is again concern for their economy. If you talk about the diamond reserves in India, we have got it in the Bundelkhand region, specifically the Panna mines. Panna mines are the only economically exploitable mines. That is why NMDC, the National Mineral Development Corporation, has set up the only country's mine or economic mine in the Panna, specifically in the Majgawa mines of Panna. This is India's only mine having a production capacity of 84,000 carats of diamond. But of course, as you know, diamonds are not renewable. So because they are getting depleted, therefore the economy is also suffering now. Now, talking about the other two regions, the Krishna belt is there, and we have also got the Kurnool belt. So they too have also got some potential mines, but of course they are not economical. So therefore, we don't have NMDC mines over there. So anyway, Madhya Pradesh, which accounts for 90% of the total diamond resources, followed up by Andhra Pradesh, followed up by Chhattisgarh, is now plaguing because first of all, it doesn't have proper agriculture economy which is flourishing. Second, the amount of diamonds and the diamond economy is also contracting. Okay, so now moving on to the investment vehicles named REITs and InvITs. They have been asked in the UPSC prelims exam and very important for the development, especially for the infrastructure development of the India. So let's have a look. The context is that in the recent RBI bulletin, it has been revealed that about 13 lakh crore have been garnered by these two investment vehicles in the last 4 years. So this will of course have a huge multiplier effect in the infrastructures of Indian economy. So anyway, we are going to first talk about what are the REITs and the InvITs. REITs is the investment trusts that particularly invest in real estate sector, for example, shops, companies or setting any residential towns. Next is InvITs. InvITs is infrastructure related investment trusts. So they particularly, these are those trusts which pool the money just like mutual fund. They create a portfolio of the multiple investment projects. Let's say their portfolios of roads, okay, they'll be constructing roads, okay, of multiple areas. So they'll create this portfolio and now they will ask the consumers, they will ask now the people who are interested to invest into them. So they will garner a lot of resources into this trust, okay, into this trust, and then they will be duly according them. And then they will be performing either some capital investment or capital acquisition, where in the case of REITs, in real estate projects, in the case of infrastructure, in the infrastructure projects, for example, roads. Okay, talking about the differences, we have already talked about the sources of investment. REITs will be putting all of their fund in the real estate properties, InvITs in the infrastructure assets. The funds that are pooled from the investors are going to be reverted back to them in the form of some kind of income. So in the case of REITs, it will be through the rental income that is generated through the real estate property. In the case of InvITs, it will be done through the dividends that are raised from the operational infrastructure assets. So for example, you have already created a road, now you are conducting toll collections. So these toll collections will now be divided among the dividends, okay, or on the basis of dividends to the stakeholders. Now looking into some examples, Embassy Office Park, which is India's first listed REIT, and it owns portfolio of office spaces across major cities. So some of the office spaces it starts creating. This is a kind of real estate investment. So this is an example of REIT. For InvIT, there is India's first listed InvIT, which is IRB InvIT Fund, which invests in operational road projects. Okay, of course, among both of them, which one is more risky and which one is more time taking? Real estate will be created more quickly and the rent is more often than not, it is stable, it is pre-decided. So therefore, REITs investment are less risky as compared to InvITs because they are high risk because it depends upon the amount of toll collection, upon the workability, upon the efficiency of the infrastructure project. So how much dividend or how much income is this mutual fund or this regulator is able to curate? Only that much will be divided in the form of dividends, right? So therefore, InvITs are more risky. Of course, both of them have to be provided with certain benefits or certain tax incentives for the people to invest in them, because both of them are having, long-term investments. Nobody wants to invest much in long-term investment. They never know whether they will be getting their right returns or not. In order to incentivize them, government said that in the case of REITs and InvITs, you will not be getting income tax on the dividends. But this provision has now been removed. In fact, in budget 2023-24, all the income distributed by the InvITs, including the interest income, this was excluded previously. Interest income, dividend income, rental income, all of them will be taxable with the unit holder. But at the level of trust, when it is getting collected, then it will be removed from the tax will be removed from the interest income. So when the trust is collecting it, there will be no tax. But when it is given to the dividends or to the stakeholders in the form of dividends, then these dividends will be taxed. This question was asked in UPSC 2023 examination. First statement says, interest income from deposit in InvITs distributed to their investors is exempted from the tax, but dividend is taxable. Absolutely incorrect. Dividend is also taxable. Second statement is also correct because here a very generic statement of recognized is written. Okay. So the answer over here is fourth. Statement 1 is incorrect. Second is correct. Now taking you through some prelim snippets. In the first one, we will read about some festivals of Northeast. Second one, we will read about Japan's smart lander for investigating moon. This is the SLIM mission. This is also known as Japan's Chandrayaan. Now we will read about core banking solutions. What are they? Why are they in news? Then what is uncontested victory in elections? So first of all, let's read about the festivals of Northeast. Reading about it, please try to take notes of it. So starting with Assam. In Assam we have Bihu festival. Every one of us know this. Next we move to Meghalaya. So in Meghalaya they celebrate Nongkrem dance festival. Krem stands for caves. You know there are a lot of caves are there in Meghalaya. So Nongkrem is basically to celebrate the harvest by the Khasi tribe. Okay, we've got Garo, Khasi and Jaintia hills. So by Khasi tribe it is celebrated. In the same place, that is Meghalaya, Wangla festival is celebrated in the honor of Missy Saljong, who is considered to be a very generous giver in their culture. Moving to Manipur, we have Kang Chinba. This is to celebrate Lord Jagannath and Balbhadra and Sister Subhadra. Then Chapchar Koot. Chapchar Koot is from Mizoram, and this is basically a harvest festival celebrated in Mizoram. The other harvest festival is Hornbill, celebrated in Nagaland. Please take notes of them. Question, a very similar one has been asked in UPSC examination. Chapchar Koot, Kongjom Parba Balad and Thangta dance. So they have to be matched, and you should be able to do such PYQs, because if you are going to attempt the examination, I am sure that you have already seen some of them. Coming up next is Smart Lander for investigating moon, the SLIM mission. We will compare it a little with Chandrayaan. So this is the lightest ever lander that has been launched by JAXA, that is Japan's space agency. Comparing it with Chandrayaan, it weighs just 1/7 of Chandrayaan, very, very light in weight, just about 500 kgs. The kind of journey that it takes, it emphasizes on two things: the fuel efficiency and carrying very, very fewer instruments. Then it is set to land near the Scioli crater. One demonstration that it will show is precision landing. So it will try to have a precision landing about 100 meters from the Scioli crater. Okay. One more thing, this has been in news because this moon lander is surviving third lunar night. So you must know that moon on an average takes 28 days revolution around the earth. And so you should also be knowing that it takes 14 days where it is completely exposed to sun, and for 14 days there is no exposure to sun at all. So these are known as lunar nights, and they are very difficult specifically for such solar driven missions. So therefore it is surviving in lunar night, and that is one of the spectacular things observed through this mission. Now the success of this mission along with Chandrayaan 3 will ensure whether the Lupix mission will see the light of the day or not. Lupix mission is a collaboration for landing on the moon by the two agencies, Japan's agency, JAXA, and ISRO, India's agency. Then we will talk about core banking solutions, because a question has been asked in UPSC. So UPSC asked that the term core banking solution is sometimes seen in the news. Which of the following statement best describes this? You will be answering this by the end of this discussion. See, first of all, every bank has got multiple branches along the territories, along the jurisdictions. Now, one of the issues that banks face is they want to provide their core banking solutions, for example, creating FDs, having deposits, taking out money, etc., to all the people without any geographical limitations. For that, they should be having a centralized database, a kind of IT solution through which all these core banking services can be made accessible across the geographical jurisdictions or across the geographical area. So for that, every bank has created core banking solution. Can you name one for RBI? The core banking solution for RBI is known as eKuber. Core banking solution for SBI is YONO. Right? So similarly, for Kotak also it was created, and RBI has recently ordered the bank to stop adding customers online because its core banking system was not working very well, causing customer inconvenience. So anyway, this is common ID solution wherein central shared database supports the entire banking application. Okay. Now, talking about uncontested victory. So just imagine that from a constituency, 9 people are contesting. Suddenly something happens and 8 on 9 people are disqualified. Will this amount to nullifying of this election? No. This will amount to this one qualified person to become uncontested winner. So this has happened recently in the case of Surat constituency, where a BJP candidate has been recognized as an uncontested, unopposed winner of the election because all the other members, their nomination papers were rejected. Who is the authority to reject or to accept the nomination paper? Well, under section 36 of the Representations of People Act, this is nowhere given in Constitution. Under Representations of People Act, section 36, the scrutiny of a nomination paper is done by returning officer of that constituency. Then, the requirement for valid nomination is also given under certain section of the RPA Act only. Now, these are two things that we need to know. Was this the first time when an unopposed and uncontested victory happened in India? No. Has it happened before or not? You tell me. So this was all about today's discussion. All the very best for your studies. Till we meet again.